popcorn. Okay. First and foremost, akarat tov, the most important, is to thank my incredible best friend who always opens her home in every opportunity. I like wrote on the group, we have a soul space group, and I wrote, hi, we're looking for someone to open their home. And I didn't even finish my sentence and she sends me a message. She just gave birth. She sends me a message at my house, like not even a question. So you are really you embody chesed. You really are the epitome of chesed in every sense of the word. And I'm very, very proud and happy to have met someone like you. So thank you again for opening your home. I want to also dedicate this shiur, Be'ezrat Hashem, to the refuah shalema of Elen Yorna bat Chenchana, Refa L'chaim ben Simachasha, Adel Miriam bat Michal Aliyah, Leachana Dvor Chaya bat Mazal Tov, and Be'ezrat Hashem to anybody who needs a refuah shalema. Anybody need extra? Anat bat Rachel, Israel ben Yehudit.
Can I just say my list?
So, and everybody on that list, is it going to be really long? Be'ezrat Hashem.
Okay, Levi Rafael ben Olga.
Levi Rafael
Ben Olga.
ben Olga. And Be'ezrat Hashem, everybody on that list, Hashem knows. So, refuah shalema, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf. Tavoi lepo ma'er. So I want to start off by saying I'm not a rabbanit. For those of you who know me and listen to my shurim, I don't claim anything. I teach and learn at the same time. So everything I teach is something that I've recently learned and get inspired by, and then I decide to share it. So it's not coming from a place of authority. It's more a place of growth. I'm all about growth and, just working on myself and becoming better. And I'm obsessed with the Torah, Hashem knows. So I actually even prayed that we have a good turnout because I said, Hashem, it's such an important topic. Please send me the most people that you can for tonight, because we don't, sometimes we don't know. Sometimes it could be 5 girls, it could be 100 girls. We really don't really know the ketzev, the rhythm, but thank God we had a good turnout. So thank you, Hashem. So I always say, B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, that in the name of Hashem, that I will be able to succeed in transmitting my message in a way where it allows you to grow for tomorrow. And it's not just, it's another shiur Torah, right? It's something that really will allow you to flourish and think about things. So a little disclaimer, we're going to talk about a topic that is very sensitive. Okay, we're going to talk about the Jewish woman and how difficult it is to be a Jewish woman because we don't get recognized. Sometimes we're not seen. We do a lot without getting so much in return. So it was something that I dealt with myself for a very long time, still dealing with it. And I was like, okay, this is the topic. I don't know if hopefully I'll be able to connect it to Hanukkah, because really it's a month of also a lot of light, a lot of miracles. But I think it is actually connected to the Jewish woman, and I'll try to connect it at the end. So I want to start with another thing. I know we're going to have a lot to say. You're going to want to comment. You're going to want to talk about your personal scenarios and why you disagree. And that's 100% fine. If you can just hold the comments and the discussions towards the end, just because I don't want to lose my train of thought. There's just a lot to cover. But I promise I'll get to each and every one of your questions and your discussions. And, we'll open it up to anybody who wants to say something. I also wanted to say thank you to Olivia's mom. I know you helped a lot, so I wanted to thank you also. And I know that she was helping you along with Olivia, so thank you. So I want to start with a personal story. This happened to me 2 weeks ago. We just recently moved to a community, and we had like a new rabbi, like a Sephardic rabbi that joined the synagogue. And basically I heard him one time, and I was like, okay, like I need to listen to this rabbi. Like I fell in love with the way he transmits Torah. So anyways, one day, I'm going to the synagogue and I'm bringing the kids with me. And my husband's like looking at me like, the rabbi's talking, like you're bringing the kids. I'm like, what do you mean? Come on, listen to the shiur. And and he's kind of like, it's like not your place. And I was like, and I got really upset. I was like, what do you mean it's not my place? Like, it's always my place to learn Torah. And he meant it in a way where, there's men gathering around. I'm like the only woman with the kids. And I'm literally like this, listening to his shiur Torah. So it was like a little bit like, it felt like I was out of place. So basically he said like next time, what? So basically, like he said, like next time, he's like, hey Shai, like like for next Shabbat, like can you not like come at 10:30, like come after the rabbi's done? I'm like, no, I'm not missing the rabbi's shiur. He's like, my love, no problem, but like it's only men, and it's like you're the only woman just like standing there, and like like it's like a men's thing. Like I want to hang out with like my friends and whatever. And I was like, no, I'm coming to listen to the rabbi's shiur. So I ended up coming the next week. He gave me the same face. It's fine. But I understood, like the kids were crying in the background while the rabbi's listening. I'm like, shh. Like I'm trying to, and everyone's looking at me like, but it's your job to be with the kids and shush them, So I had a really hard time with that because I was like, one second. From one angle, I want to get close to Hashem Yitbarach. I'm obsessed with His Torah. All I want to do is literally learn. But my responsibility is also to my kids. Like Hashem literally was like, your role is to nurture, to give. And your responsibility, your first priority is not limud Torah. It is to your children. Okay? So that's one angle of the Torah that sometimes we deal with that, it's like, why do men get to do this? And I don't get to do it. Like there's a lot of that going on. Okay? So that's one. Now there's another angle where there's a story that a rabbi was explaining in a shiur, that he went to a new synagogue, and basically he didn't really know like the people there, but he was joining the community, and basically everybody was doing Birkat Hamazon. They had like a kiddush, and everybody was eating, and at one point they were singing something, and this woman comes and joins the singing, and like her voice was like very loud, so it's like everybody's like, is anybody gonna tell her? Like it's like Kol Isha, she can't really sing out loud. And anyways, this woman, apparently it was like her first time at a synagogue. So the rabbi, very calm, after the Birkat Hamazon and the singing, he calmly goes up to her and he says, listen, I'm so sorry, like, you have a beautiful voice, but according to halacha, Kol Isha Irva, like you're not allowed really to sing in front of men. She freaked out. I think she was Israeli. She said, Ache Gati, until I got here, and now I want to connect with Hashem, and now I can't even sing, like until I got to the point where I'm connecting with Hashem, I'm enjoying, I'm in a synagogue, prayer, this, that. You're telling me I also can't do this? And she like left the synagogue. She had such a like bitter taste in her mouth, right? So what does she see? Torah is restriction, not allowed. You're a woman, this, that. There's a lot of that also going on. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. The woman is below the man. The woman's inferior. There's a lot of that going on, and it has to be acknowledged. I don't think I've ever heard of a shiur that really acknowledges this, and I think a lot of us go through this where we don't feel important. We don't feel recognized. We do so much, and it's like nobody's going, you picked up socks on the floor. You did the dishes. You did the 700 load of laundry. Like no one's doing that. Like I do that with Shelly sometimes on FaceTime, like kol hakavod, you cooked, because we need that. I understand that we need it, but we're not really nobody's like filming us throughout the day and being like, wow, kol hakavod, you did this, you made tzitzot for the kids. It was a lot of work. Nobody's doing that, right, throughout the day. And I think it's very hard because it's not that we're not important, it's that we don't feel important. Okay, so those are two different distinctions. So let me see if I pass this. So, going back to, there's so many rules about the Jewish woman. She's not allowed to do this. She's not allowed to do that. So I want to talk about the main rules against women in the Torah, and I want to kind of debunk them, put them into context, right? Because we deal with that a lot also. And we want to know, where is it coming from? Okay? So does anybody want to give me examples of things like that you hear in the Torah that go against women and that like it bothers you? Because I want to see if I cover it here. The what? What about it?
The fact that we have to be impure.
Okay. Anybody else? אני עוברת על הדברים שלך. Okay, so I put three main ones that a lot of people that I've heard people argue about. I haven't gotten to the Nidapur, so we'll open that to discussion later on because I don't want to lose focus. But the main things that I hear a lot is kol isha erva, which is the example that I gave, that a woman can't, her voice can't be heard. Number two, a woman cannot be a witness in the court of law. Okay, she can't, not trusted, but she just cannot be a witness according to halakha. And number three is that she cannot be a dayan. She cannot be a judge, and she cannot be part of the bedin or the sanhedrin. Okay, so, and the fourth one, sorry, I added this one at the end after we spoke. Isha da'ata kala, a woman's knowledge is to be taken lightly, and this is something that Chazal wrote. Okay, so these are just a few of the restrictions that we hear in the Torah that it creates a lot of issues and resistance in women today. Especially the feminists are like, don't even talk to me about this. You know, it's like there's always like something, right? There's a contradiction here. So I want to break it down. So that back to the story of Kol Isha Erva, right, with the woman that was singing. I actually can't believe I even found studies about this, because I was like, Hashem, how am I gonna like do this with Kol Isha Erva? Because it doesn't make sense. You're like, I just want to sing. What's the problem, right? So I found a study that it's crazy how the Torah knows. They know 1,000 years before the science comes out how all these things function. But basically, it's a study that connects your pelvic floor muscles, which is also basically your private parts, your pelvic floor muscles, with your vocal cords. Okay, it's connected by a nerve called the vagus nerve. Okay, now both the vocal cords and, sorry for the lack of a better term, but the vaginal tissue have receptors for estrogen and progesterone, and this is why women's voices change during their cycle, their pregnancy, and childbirth. Pelvic floor tone also changes with hormones. So meaning that they're very closely connected, okay? When we sing, it requires a certain reliance on pelvic floor muscles, and because they actually create movement while we sing, it becomes a form of intimacy. These core processes are the very same mechanisms that are involved in intimacy, in breathing patterns, during arousal, and emotional expression, okay? So basically, you see that specific breathing patterns and the way your tone changes and how it is connected to intimacy, you can tell that it already is something that is almost like a private thing that really is something to be shared with you and your husband. If it's something that already you're connected with the vocal cords and the pelvic floor, and it creates a sort of attraction, even if it's not just biological, which we see it's biological, it is also energetic. That means that any man on the street, especially if you have a good voice, is going to be like attuned to the voice. There's going to be a certain type of connection, a certain type of intimacy, okay? Also, when a woman sings, she changes hormonal and neurological states, and she naturally releases, this is so interesting because this is what's being released usually when you hug someone or when you know, when you're intimate with someone, you release oxytocin. It's also released when she sings. It naturally releases the bonding hormone, which is oxytocin. You have also dopamine, which is the pleasure hormone, and endorphins. These hormones unconsciously affect both the singer and the listener, okay? So across cultures, we also see that men subconsciously, not even on a conscious level, they respond to high pitch, soft resonance, breathy tones because they're receptive to something that can be arousing, and they're naturally inclined to function this way. Like they turn around just from a girl wearing a miniskirt. So imagine a girl who has a really nice voice, and energetically they're attracted to it. So Hashem says, I know you better. It doesn't matter science or not. Like the Torah knows thousands of years ago they were saying this, and only now we see the science. So sometimes it's really important to make that distinction, because sometimes we think we know better, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us. He knows better. And just because the science is not there and it's going to come out in another 100 years, doesn't mean that it's wrong. Okay? So Kol Isha, by the way, Erva, basically is what is the, there's a specific definition of Rava. Okay, I'll get to it because I guess it's here. Basically, Kol Isha is not Erva. Erva means it needs to be covered. So it doesn't need to be covered because a woman is shameful. It doesn't need to be covered because her voice is dirty or Judaism is trying to silence her, but because her singing is tied to systems related to femininity, intimacy, and sexuality, which basically increase attraction both biologically and energetically. Okay? Men are wired to respond to the female voice in ways that women are not wired to respond to the male voice. So there's always like a science behind the things that we see. And sometimes when you're just not thinking about the science and you just want to fight the Torah, you're like, why is my voice? Why does it matter? I just want to sing, right? Like in the story. But when you really put things into context, into perspective, into really understanding what is the reason why things happen and what is the reason why Hashem put it in the Torah, there's a reason for everything, right? So this is one of the rules. So we have a biological scientific explanation, which is just to say, Hashem knows best. He's just putting a protection mechanism for you. You're a married woman. If you raise your voice and you have a really nice voice and another man sees and he's attracted to you and it's going to create problems and shalom bye. He doesn't want you going into that rabbit hole. So he says, just don't do it, right? You guys can sing in front of me, no problem. Just, right? Like if you're surrounded by men, you just don't want to cause that attraction, especially when you're married, okay? So again, we're not forbidden to sing because it's dangerous. We're forbidden to sing because it's powerful. Okay? It's two different distinctions. And Hashem says, I created you. Trust me that I set these boundaries for a reason. Okay? Number 2, a woman can't be a dayan. She can't be a judge. Okay? Don't kill me yet. We're smart. We're intuitive. We have binayat tera. We're literally everything that's required to be a judge. Why can't we be judges? Like if anything, we fit the criteria, we fit the bill. So Devorah in Nevi'im actually was I don't know if we say prophetess, is that like a word?
Yeah.
Prophetess. We say like prophetess, is that like how you pronounce it? Okay. So she was a prophetess and she was also a judge, but she was a judge outside of the Bedin, outside of the court of law, because by law you cannot be a woman and be a judge. But she was still a big spiritual leader. She surpassed elders, she surpassed tribes, she surpassed certain generals because she really had a lot of spiritual clarity, right? Because as a prophetess, we have a lot of spiritual clarity. She was able to help a lot of people, shalom bayit issues, whatever issues that they came with, but she was still not able to be in a bedin. So the question is, if she was so great and she's helping literally the entire nation, why can't she be in a bedin? So we asked the question, if she was so great, why couldn't she rule in the Sanhedrin, in the bedin? So the Bet Din has legal requirements, just like in the Supreme Court, there's a legal requirement. The Supreme Court, for example, requires that you have to be a U.S. citizen. I just want to make sure that it's right. That you have to be a U.S. citizen in order to be in a Supreme Court. Okay? That doesn't mean that someone who is foreign is not going to be brilliant as a judge in the Supreme Court. That's not what it's saying. It's just saying, by law, we made a decision that you have to be a U.S. citizen. That doesn't take away from the people that are not U.S. citizen. It means that they're not smart. No, it just means that this is an evaluative thing. It's not a measure of your intelligence. It's not a measure of your value. It's a measure of something that we evaluate. That's all. It's a criteria. So the exclusion is structural. It's not evaluative, which are two different things. Okay? Torah law, when Devorah couldn't be in the Sanhedrin, they weren't questioning her ability. It was just a legal format. And I'm going to get into why that was it. Even deeper, a dayan is not just someone who, okay, you come into court and you just answer questions. It's not. It has to do with a lot of coercion. It's coercive powers. And when you get into coercion, almost like it's like the black work that nobody wants to do. Like if someone owes money and you have to, chase them for the money, you have to do things that are almost degrading. It's like Hakadosh Baruch Hu said, I didn't create you to do this work. I created you to nurture, to empower. Why do you need to do the dirty stuff? Like, give it to the men. So he says, it's not about that you're not capable. We would probably be much better judges than men. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not saying it's not because you're not capable. It's because you have a different role. I'm not evaluating you in a way where you're not intelligent. I'm evaluating you in a way where that's not part of the structure that I created for you. Okay? So all these require the requirements of a dayan, of a judge, to rule well and powerfully, and so that they have enough authority and persuasion, is to do things like cross-examining aggressively, imposing penalties, sitting in positions that require public enforcement. These are things that require aggression. They require things that make you look almost like manly, right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, don't get it twisted. You're a woman. Follow the don't go against what I gave you, is basically why he's saying. Don't create a conflict. Actually, he wants you to go with the flow of what he created for you. Okay? So another thing is, as a dayan, you're entering scenarios. For example, I'm giving an example, like a scenario that a dayan has to go through. A woman who's about to lose her children because her husband did this and that. A woman, how can she respond? She's so compassionate. She literally was built to nurture. How can she judge something so objectively when she has such an emotional attachment, to children? So I'm saying it's not just those cases. There's a lot of other cases, but I'm just saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, focus on what you have. Don't go against your grain. Don't go against your nature, okay? So while compassion is what we have in every woman, it's a strength. In court settings, for example, it can make things like harsh rulings very difficult. It can weaken enforcement. It can make your objectivity very blurry, right? Because we're compassionate, and it can sway your judgment. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, stay away from this stuff, right? It's not because you're not good at it. It's not because you'll never be able to be a good judge. It's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I have something so much better for you. You have so much more power in other things. Like, why are you so focused on being a judge? Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, and this actually goes into being a dayan, the reasons why you cannot be a witness. It's even worse. Because as a witness, what do you do in court? You did this to me, you lied, you cheated. No, you did this to me. No. There's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of, then he could say, I'm going to harm your family if you don't do this, right? And then you go home at night. How can you nurture your kids when all you're thinking about is the guy who said, I'm going to kill you and your family? It's a form of conflict that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said it's not fitting for you. Not because you're not going to be a good testimony, not because you're not trustworthy, but because this is not your role. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually trusts us in the most halachically strict situations. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I trust you to be your own witness. And we see that in the laws of Nidah. Nobody is checking you going into the bdikot and checking that you're doing it twice a day and checking what color. HaKadosh Baruch Hu even allows you to check the color and say, okay, I need to ask a rabbi. He trusts you in Taharat HaMishpacha, which is one of the most important concepts and the most important halachot in the Torah, the most important commandment. This is where Hashem dwells. His Shekhinah is in your Taharat HaMishpacha. So he says, I trust you to be able to determine whether you are Nidah or not. That is the most powerful thing ever. Again, we're not talking about the fact that we cannot be trusted as women. When you take it out of context and you want to fight the Torah, sure, you can say all these things. But when you really think about it, and you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu also tests us, by the way, not tests us, he trusts us in kashrut. How do we know when we invite people for Shabbat that this person is checking every bug? I know Shani literally takes a magnifying glass when she checks her lettuce. She kills me. We went to Colorado, we went skiing, remember? And I see her, she's taking her glasses, she's using a magnifying glass. I'm like, Shani, relax, like nothing. She's like, no, I saw a bug. She was so machmir. On the kashrut.
But I'm just gonna very
No, you were like, oh my God, it's so gross. I'm not having lettuce ever again. I'm like, Shani will not have strawberries because she's like, it's impossible to clean. She will not eat broccoli. It's impossible to clean, right? So I'm saying we have Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I do trust you. Of course I trust you. Just not in the court of law where you're going to be addressed. That's not, you're going to be aggressed. You're going to be, dealing with criminals. It's not, you're a malka. You're on the role of malchut. Like ma kesha, there's literally no connection. Let the men do the dirty work. You understand? So everything is context. Okay? So tying both to not being able to be a judge and not being able to be a witness is, again, because these settings require confrontation, cross-examination, an argumentative presence, which, you know what? If we were dayanim, okay, let's say Hashem says you can be a dayan. we would be a little bit more aggressive with our kids. We would be a little bit more not feeling with our kids. Why? Because it requires us to lose compassion. It requires us to have a certain focus, a certain angle that Hashem says that's how you're going to nurture your kids. Like, lema, to have all these complications. You're not here in this world to judge other people's scenarios, because you're going to lose what I gave you. Compassion, love, warmth, the nurture. You're going to lose all of that. In the process, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, trust me. Trust me. I gave you these rules and these boundaries for a reason. Okay? Chazal also states explicitly that the hectic, adversarial nature of the courtroom testimony is not aligned with the spiritual role of women, like I explained. When we testify against someone, this is specifically with testifying, it can be degrading, accusatory, disrespectful, and you're put in situations where Hashem says you're way too precious and you're way too in the form of malchut and gentle and compassionate, and you have so much power about you. Like, don't do this dirty work. You're too special to be doing all these things, and I don't want you to lose what I created you to do. Okay? Last but not least, Isha da'ata kala. Okay? And this is one of the main concepts that a lot of people don't like. Okay, me and Shelly argue about this a lot. But Isha da'ata kala comes from Chazal, and actually comes from the Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin, where they say a woman's speech, a woman's words should be taken lightly. Now you're like, okay, that's like the most negative thing you can ever say about a woman. Wouldn't even take it lightly. So I'm not intelligent. I'm not important. You shouldn't take my advice. You shouldn't take my knowledge. Right? It's a very harsh thing to say. So when you actually look into what that means in this situation where Chazal says Isha da'ata kala, that refers to emotional responsiveness. It's not intelligence in this situation. So it means that you're more sensitive and you're more quick to emotionally respond. Okay? So it's emotional susceptibility, and in Kiddushin, where we find Isha da'atan kala, in Masechet Kiddushin, we're referring only to intimacy and relationships. Masechet Kiddushin is the Kedusha between a man and a woman. This is where we find Isha da'ata kala. So people who take it out of context, Isha da'ata kala, what do you mean? I know everything. How do you, right? Again, a woman can't be trusted. We can't take a woman's advice. It's not true. When you take it out of context, that's what you get. But when you look at the context where Chazal wrote Isha da'ata kala, it's from Masechet Kiddushin, where in Kiddushin they talk about the Kedusha, the holy relationship between a man and a woman. And he says a woman is simply more emotionally responsive to something. So you have to take it lightly. During this week, I got like a phone call that like stressed me out, and I literally call Maul, and Moore's like at work. I'm like, babe, I'm about to faint. I'm in the car, taking my kids to school. I'm like, I'm gonna faint. I'm like very dramatic like that, and he's like, Sharon, you're not gonna faint. Like, calm down. I'm so like I respond so quickly to something that can happen to me that my husband's like, Sharon, you can't act like that. Like, your kids are right there. Like you. And I was like driving, I'm like, I'm gonna faint. What am I gonna do? And he's like, 1 second. He's like, you're not gonna faint. Tell yourself you're not gonna faint. You're gonna be fine. So what? What?
When he told you buy the thing that you wanted.
Oh my gosh. So I had texted him that before this happened. I had texted him that morning. I'm like, babe, can we buy this couch like for Hanukkah? So like we have an outdoor patio, whatever. So he goes, no. Like, so then basically when I call him, I'm gonna he's like, okay, buy the couch that you wanted. Like, if it's gonna make you calm, do whatever, like, do whatever it takes. Again, we're so different. We respond. What?
Now I know what to retain from this class.
We respond so emotionally sometimes because it comes from worry. Like sometimes when my husband comes late, like he goes to Kola 3 times a week, if he is late by 1 minute, I'm like, what happened? I'm calling him 100 times. Doesn't answer, it's over. Like, it's over. I'm calling the ambulance. I'm calling a towel. Did anybody call you by the name of... I freak out. And my husband, it's 12 a.m. He's like, don't forget to lock the doors. I'm going to sleep. I'm like, you're not going to wait for me to get home, So we worry more. There's more like emotion. There's more compassion. There's more relationship building involved. Whereas a man's like, somebody gave this example on a show. What did I hear? That it was like something like, let's say like you're in a place and this woman like gets upset and she's fighting with someone, so everyone's gonna look at her and all the girls are gonna try to figure out what happened. I think maybe I don't know, like something happened. Like everybody's gonna like figure it out. If it's like a party with men, they're just like, oh, the bro left. Like, you understand? No, they're not like thinking, they're not getting involved in the whole situation. A woman simply responds differently than man. So when Chazal says, Isha da'ata kala, it's not from the form of her taking lightly whatever she says. It's in the form of she's more emotionally attached to something. She's quicker to respond. It doesn't mean that the situation that happened to me didn't happen. It just means that I can take it out of proportions. So he says, take it with a grain of salt. Okay? Again, it's not a stira on the it's not a test of whether a woman's intelligent or not, or whether she has the ability to give good advice or not. Not at all, because we see in Devorah, in Shoftim, that she was able to be a judge. She transformed Jewish history with her incredible knowledge and wisdom. And again, Isha bina yetera, she got a bina yetera, she got an extra form of wisdom. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not arguing the fact that we're not intelligent. Okay, so anybody who tells you that, you send them to me, okay? So, last but not least, and this is the most important part of this entire shiur. I know you guys are tired, please. One last thing. When a woman fights the system and says, I'm not good enough, or, the woman's never going to be, a queen in the Torah, we're always going to be slaves. The other day I go to my son, I'm like, I'm not your slave. Pick up your sock. He's like, Ima, you're my slave. Wow, what I did to him. I was so, it comes from a form of like, I'm not your, like you feel like a slave all day. You're cooking, you're cleaning this. Then your husband comes home, he's like, yeah, I need my space for a minute. I'm like, you need your space. I'm like, I need my space also. There's a lot of like, I feel like a slave. I'm not important. I'm all day at home. I'm all day doing this. I'm all day doing that. You don't feel the recognition. You don't feel seen. And it's a big problem. But before that, when a woman fights the system and says, Isha da'ata kala, shelo asan isha, who do they think they are? That was me, by the way, in high school. I was like, I'm not going to be religious. Like, I'm never going to cover my hair. I want my hair out. I want to be in the sun. I'm not going to wear a bathing suit like the people in Bnei Brak. I was very against this whole thing. And when a woman fights the system, in the sense that dafka, she's going to raise her voice when they're going to be in a synagogue. Dafka, I want them to hear my voice. Those like Israelis are like, dafka. I'm going to wear pants on Yom Kippur. I'm going to go to shul. Dafka, I'm going to argue with rabbis why I can't be a judge. No, there's the people that are the dafka people that are like, no, I'm dafka going to do it. Okay? When you're fighting the Jewish role of a woman, it is because you are trying to prove something. Okay? Hold your comments for the end. There's trauma. We have low self-esteem. There's a strong need for validation. There's something that you really wanted as a child that you never got, that you really needed. There's something that you're trying to prove. There's a need to be recognized as a woman, right? I want to be recognized. I want to be known. I want to show people I exist. I'm here, because maybe in your childhood you didn't, your that wasn't important. What you said wasn't important. They were like, yeah, like, move to the side, right? Whatever you would say. So all of these things where it's dafka, I'm going to do this, dafka, I'm going to do that, come from a form of vulnerability. Something happened in your childhood, when you were younger, in your relationships, whatever it is, that created this resentment, right? Of, no, I need to be recognized. I want to be seen. I am a person. I want to make sure that I'm here, that people see me. Okay? So we have to be extremely aware of this possibility and dig a little deeper. What are we trying to prove? That we are worthy, that we should be loved, that we're capable, that we exist. Why is recognition so important for me? Why is it so important for me to feel validated, to feel wanted? That was a big thing for me growing up. The attention I needed to walk into the room, the prettiest girl in the room, everyone needs to talk to me. It was very important for me to draw attention. And I was the person that was like, Dafka, I'm gonna go to, I was that person. But you have to dig deeper and understand why. Why do you need that attention? A woman who needs that attention is gonna have a very hard time being tzniut. And she's gonna question it all the time. Why do I need to wear a skirt? I wanna wear pants. I wanna wear jeans. Why? Because it makes her feel seen. There is something deeper that needs to be resolved before you ever attain the concept of Akadosh Baruch Hu made me a Jewish woman, period. There's no questions asked. Thank you, Hashem. I am worthy. I am loved. I don't need these explanations. I'm not going to do dafka. I'm happy in my skin, Baruch Hashem. I resolved the childhood trauma. I resolved the inner child issues. I resolved the fact that I feel worthy. All of these things come up and it really, really affects our relationship with the Torah, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our children, our relationship with our parents, our relationship to our communities, the way we see Judaism, which has been so diluted over time. It's been transmitted in such a way where the Isha feels so inferior to man, and it's not the Torah that Hashem gave us. Akadosh Baruch Hu says the woman is the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah, according to Kabbalah, is the feminine energy. Akadosh Baruch Hu says, are you kidding me? Like, you have the ability to bring a child into this world. That is a godly capability. It's not something that, first of all, men could never deal with. Like, I don't know if you guys ever saw that video where it's like they get the fake the real contractions. Like a man wears that thing. He's like, ah! They're like, 1 second. That's like contraction when you're dilated one. They're like, what? They couldn't handle it. The things that we can handle, first of all, without being seen, I should say, it's something that's unheard of. It's unheard of. I remember I went to visit someone at the hospital when they gave birth, and she just gave birth, whatever, she's tired, and you see the husband's passed out on the couch. So they were like, yeah, he's doing fine. It's he can't even handle being tired. And meanwhile, she just gave birth. She has to breastfeed the baby. She has to also take a shower. She has to also go to the bath. It's nonstop. And nobody sees that you're doing the 700 load of laundry. Nobody's seeing that. All they see is that you get to the shul Torah and you're falling asleep on the couch. And they're like, oh, why didn't you listen to the show? She didn't like it? No, she's tired, bro. No, I'm being serious. There's so many things that go unseen, and it bothers me so much because then from the outside, it looks like it's oh, she's like this. No, she's tired. She's exhausted. She's not recognized. She's not seen. There's such an issue with that because we're givers, right? And the more we give, it's sometimes it's not enough. You're like, okay, what more can I give? What more can I do? I think the other day I was I don't remember who I was talking to, but I made 2 sourdough breads, and then I was like, okay, yeah, let's make sufganiyot, let's give me the recipe. And in my head, I'm like, I'm so tired, 1 second, you're running, it's nonstop. My mom is the perfect example of that. She's not, her housekeeper comes in the morning at 9 a.m., my mom's already cleaning for her. I'm like, Ima, then why do you have a housekeeper? My housekeeper's name is Lady. She's like, lady, come, I work with you. I'm like, Ima, what are you paying her for? We don't know when to stop. This is for Olivia also, who just gave birth. This one opening her home left and right. Baruch Hashem, thank God. But she's really chesed, And not that it's bad, Baruch Hashem, we don't realize our potential until we push ourselves, and we're like, oh my God, I did this. Eden always comes to me, she's like, what, since when do you have 3 kids? When did that happen? We just do, and we go. And my third baby was a surprise, but I remember I cried to my mom, like, Ima, no! How am I gonna do it? And I did it. And Baruch Hashem, now she's 2-year-old. She's my most precious gift. I'm obsessed with her. But sometimes, she has the tantrums. But most of the time, you look at, you're not seen, but you see what you've done. you see your children, and they always say parenting is so hard because you don't see the fruits of your labor until much later. So you're like, what am I doing this for? You know, sometimes you're like, you go to sleep. You're like, I worked like a dog. Oh, and by the way, tomorrow is going to be exactly the same way. Like, it's not going to change. It's not like, it's going to get better. It's going to get even worse, probably. You know, there was a meme. I don't know. I think I sent it to you. And it was like, this woman that's like, the moment you realize that you cleaned and cooked and you're exhausted, and the next day you're going to be doing it for the rest of your effing life. And I was like, oh my God, it's so true. But we still do it. And we still continue and we continue. It's like Hashem really re-energizes this force, because Hashem says, you're the Shekhinah. Nobody else is going to do it. I was supposed to fly to Israel for a wedding. I still hope that I can go, but I probably can't. And I told, my mom's laughing. Yeah, okay, I'm not going, okay? So, I wish, whatever. Anyways, so I couldn't find, we don't have like, my mother-in-law, Shema Yisrael. Okay, I'm telling you, like, it's really hard, like, to raise kids. So anyways, I was like, babe, like, what do you think? Like, okay, 5 days. It's not like a big, my husband's like, I can't even do 1 day. What 5 days? It's like, the house doesn't function without the woman. The house doesn't function without the women. My mom, I think, went to Israel. My dad was home for like 2 weeks. I don't think I've ever seen him more miserable. It's like, he was like, where is my energy? Like, my life support, you know?
It wasn't 2 weeks, 1 month.
1 month. So anyways, I remember we did Shabbat with Abba, you remember? And we went into the house, and I'm like, oh my God, Ima's not here. Like, it was so empty. You feel like, I'm like, where's the Shekhinah in this home? Like, it really, like, the woman is the essence of everything. We have the power to birth, to give, to create, to influence, to empower. Literally, the list goes on and on and on and on. And you know what? When they say Isha datan kala, I actually think it's the opposite. Because every time you want something and you go to your husband, you know how to get it. You know how to say it in a way where he's going to say yes. There was a shiur, and somebody said that, and the woman goes, you know what I do? She was like, this Israeli, she's so funny. And she was like, one time I wanted to order like a new color for the wall. And I was like, Yalla, Yasmin, it's like, no, I'm not going to ask him. And he was like this husband that's like, it's very important, the respect, and like he needs to have like his say. So she's like, David, ma, what do you think about this color for the walls? So he's like, Psada. She's like, okay, Psada, and Yasmin. Meanwhile, she ordered it 2 weeks ago. She didn't even ask him, you know? Like, really, we have the power to get what we want in a way where we're compassionate. We're like, come sit, have dinner, you know? And they're like, what do you want? You know, like, you're able to really empower and influence in a way where men can never. So when people tell me, I'm like, slow down here. You're taking it out of context, and I really don't agree with you. I really think that the power of the woman is in everything, in her speech, in her thoughts, in her actions, in the way she embodies her home, her family, the way she speaks to her husband, her relationships with her friends. Everything is really the woman, the Shekhinah, and the energy that Hashem sends us. Because honestly, without Hashem, I would be like falling on the floor, like from exhaustion. Like HaKadosh Baruch Hu really renews our energy and strength. So back to fighting the system. There's a lot of women today that will fight you to the death of them why they need to be equal to men, right? All these feminists today, why they deserve to be at the top. But what are you really fighting? Again, what are you trying to prove? And I actually really like this idea because this is how it ties to Hanukkah. There's so much darkness in life when we fight our role, when we fight our femininity because of something we can't figure out, right? Because there's something that you're trying to prove. You need self-worth. You're doing, you're constantly bringing people into your home because you can't be alone, because you feel like you're not worthy. So you need to have people always over and this because you're trying to prove something. The minute that you dispel the darkness, which is what's really going on inside, right? You're going to become the biggest light in your life. And this is where you're going to transform and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I accept my role, I have no problem, right? And I always have these arguments with people, and it's so funny because back then, I would argue with people all the time. Like, I'm a feminist, don't tell me what to wear, don't tell me how to act. And my cousins would go to like the beach that was like separate. In Israel, they have like that beach that's like at 10 a.m., the women go, and then at like 12 p.m. on a Wednesday, the men go, right? And I would be like, can't believe if they do that? Like, yes, you know, like I would be so like against the whole separation of men and women need to be covered and men don't need to be, and they need to watch their eyes, but we need to watch what we wear. Like, I was like, what? Like, there was such an imbalance in what I thought. But the minute I uncovered the darkness, why am I fighting the system? Why am I fighting my role as a Jewish woman? That is when I was able to truly accept the role. Okay? When we question Hashem's judgment, and this is where we drive it home, when we question the rules he sets for us, what are we really saying? Akadosh Baruch Hu, I don't trust your rules. I don't agree with them. I don't want them. And the fight for feminism is really, truly, and I'm sorry that I say this, is a fight against God. Because Akadosh Baruch Hu says, I created you, I know you best, and this is the role that is for you. And the minute that you fight Akadosh Baruch Hu, you're saying, I don't trust that. There's something here. It's either because you're vulnerable to something, or because you're not educated enough and you need to put things into context. But really, it's always going to be a fight against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a test of emunah and bitachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us in his image in a way where he says, this is for you, ezel kenegdo, and this is where the man stands. Okay? And those are two very, very separate roles. Okay? When you start to question Hashem's role for you, why he puts you in this world, what happens? The Shekhinah starts to be removed from you. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I made you with Shekhinah. You're testing me? You're asking me why I created you this way? Let me remove the power that you have. Let's see where you stand. Okay? And the people that tell me, but why can't I wear tefillin? Why can't I read the Torah? Why can't I? It's like a fight that the world needs to be fair. Things need to be fair. But are we living in a fair world? Like, come on, we see these scenarios all day, the most amazing people, the worst tragedies, the cutest kids that are in hospitals, they're sick. There's no fairness in the world. So when someone says, it's not fair, there's nothing fair in this world. The point of life is not fairness. It is to be in this world, to do your role and to accept your role in a way where you surrender and you trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? We cannot do whatever we want in this life. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created boundaries and rules because he says, is that Ariel? Oh my God, bring him right now. You cannot navigate this world alone. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, here's a guide for you, and you can't navigate it alone. Okay? I don't want it to get too long because I want to open the floor for questions. But I want to just mention that our worth is never going to be measured by cleaning, by cooking, by organizing, by redoing the garage, which I'm doing on Wednesday, volunteering at a hospital. It's measured by the acceptance of your role. Where does your avodah come from? Is it coming from love, or is it coming from resentment? Is it coming from acceptance and surrender, or is it coming from an angry place? Why is my husband in the call? I also want to learn all day. He could take care of the kid. There's a lot of people like that. I don't want to do this. I want to have a career and go out and also wear a nice suit and also have my cup of coffee and also have important calls all day. Men get to feel important because they have an external role. Come home, bring money home. That's it. Your job is done. Our job is times 100 worse than that, harder than that. And we don't get the recognition. We are unseen. That invisibility, is that a word? Yeah, right? I think it's because one time you said invisibility and I just got completely confused. That invisibility of a woman is the hard part to do without getting back, without the reciprocity. Okay? That's a word for sure. Hanukkah is the month where we use a special light to dispel darkness, what we can't see. What can't you see that's making you fight the system, that makes you feel like a slave when you pick up socks, that makes you feel like you need to be equal to man, that makes you feel like you know better than Hashem? If we cannot dig deeper into what we cannot see and ask ourselves, why are we so angry when we're cooking for the third time in the day, when we wash the floors, when we cook dinner? Sometimes it's exhaustion, for sure, but sometimes it's a lot deeper than that. What is sabotaging my trust in Hashem? That is my role. We have a responsibility, not just to our families, not just to our husbands, not just to our children or our communities, but to ourselves, to dig deeper into the darkness and figure out what's stopping me from completely taking in the entire Shekhinah of my being able to really use up all my potential. What is it? What is it? There's something there, right? Because it's a fight all day. It's resentment. It's anger. It's not coming from a place of happiness, the Avodat Hashem, right? If we have rules, if we have boundaries, if we are trusted with some areas, and in others Hashem says, use your energy for something else, and you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I trust you best, it's the greatest form of emunah and faith you can have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everyone talks about emunah in the hard times and the challenges. Of course, it's a challenge. But we don't talk about the emunah in the acceptance of the Jewish role, of the Jewish mother, of the Jewish wife, of the Jewish woman as a whole, right? We don't have that acceptance. If we have rules, if we have boundaries, then we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them for a reason. And when we trust and surrender, we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're taking the wheel. I'm doing your Torah and your Avodah from a form of happiness, because that is the most important part, not from resentment. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do the rest for you. Okay? A very important thing, it's so interesting. I was reading Mizmor LeTodah this morning, and you say, Mizmor LeTodah, Areu LaHashem kol haaretz, Ivu et Hashem besimcha, Bou lefanav birnana, Deu ki Hashem hu ha'elokim, hu asanu velo anachnu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us, not us. You could just say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us, that's it, chalas, you know? No, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us, lo anachnu. It's a reminder when you are thinking and acknowledging God, you are also saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I know I didn't create myself. You created me. I trust that you created me in your image with this role for a purpose. And I'm going to do everything in my power to do it besimcha, from an inspirational point of view, and not I'm fighting with you, dafka in the Torah, this, why they said. No, because I love you, I trust you, you gave me this role for myself, and I know that it's not from you can't trust me, I'm not intelligent enough, my advice is not good enough. All these things that the Torah is taken out of context, this is where the anger comes from. If you're angry about things like that, then you have to dig a little deeper. Okay? Last thing, I promise. There's a lot of culture that everyone deals with, cultural differences in religion, that create a very different circumstance for each and every one of us. Okay. When you're married to an Ashkenaz husband, and you're married to a Bukharian or Moroccan or Tunisian husband, those are two different types of Judaism. Why? Because the Ashkenaz husband has no problem with the woman not cooking and throwing frozen schnitzels in the oven and calling it a dinner, and then her going and having a career. What?
Not my husband.
Oh, not your husband. Okay. So
He's half-half.
my love, he has Yemenite genes. Come on, it's not the same thing. So you're seeing completely different forms of Judaism. That woman who is married to the Ashkenaz husband, the minute she literally makes a quiche, she's like, wow, what a dinner. She gets so much recognition. You come home to a Moroccan husband, he's like, Zama Sheikhan, this is what you made me? This is going in the garbage. There is a different transmission of Torah depending on who you live with and who your husband is. I'm not now saying divorce your husband because he's Moroccan. That's not what I'm saying.
Be careful.
Chaz v'shalom, my husband is the best husband there is. But, you know, Mor is an outlier because he is the most like, every little thing, he's like, my love, you worked so hard, I love you so, you know, like he really recognizes what I do. So my battle against my role is going to be a lot easier than somebody who all day cooks, cleans, works so hard, and the husband's like, there's a stain on the table. Maze, you know, like those old like primitive. No, I'm serious. Like the primitive people who would like abuse their wives. It's not. No, it's not even a joke. There would be like a stain on the shirt. He would slap her in the face. It's not funny.
They get stereotypical wives, they act like
Right, today, like, you slap your husband in the face, right? It's like a different generation. But I'm just saying, you know, so I'm saying the transmission of Judaism, where we feel like we're a slave, it's not because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you're a slave. Where is it written in the Torah? Pick up socks from the floor. No. It's sometimes the dynamic of where someone grew up, what culture he came from, where he will make you feel like you are nothing and you are worthless and you're not doing enough and you're not, because he grew up in a certain part of the world, I guess, where it was fight or flight or survival mode and people were more aggressive and all of these things. So we all come from different circumstances, and that's why I say it's very hard, because everybody has a different circumstance at home and everybody has a different husband, and some husbands are incredible and you really feel important in your role as a Jewish woman, and some men on Shabbat don't lift a finger and you're like, but I was on my feet for 7 hours. Can you? It's like there's like glue on their chair. They can't get up. It's impossible to get up. You know? So no, but I really see that. Sometimes I see women hosting, I'm like, they're clearing the tables, I'm like, you know, like, how much already can you do? How much energy do you have? And some women who are in that Moroccan mentality, unfortunately, or there's a lot of other, I think even, I don't know if Syrians are like that, but other Edot, even Algerians, who the husband sits and does nothing. And that creates a discrepancy, because then you think the Torah is like that. That's not the Torah. I'm sorry to tell you. It is a dilution of the Torah. It is the wrong transmission of what a woman is. And I want you to really take that home. I'm not saying, Chav, go to your husband and scream at him and slap him in the face. No, chas v'shalom. I'm just saying that
Stand up for yourself.
yes, and also the reason why so many women are the dafka and the fighting in the Torah, it's not because of the Torah. It's not because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said you're a slave. It's because your husband doesn't treat you the way you need to be treated. Okay? So those are very important distinctions. Wow, we're going to hear divorces. Wow. Guys, don't call me with Shalom Bait issues. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of discrepancy, and there's a lot of flexibility in the home depending on where your edah comes from, and it's 2, 3, 700 different types of Judaisms, and you have to just take the main point and the main focus that the Shekhinah is in the home and it is with a happy woman, and you do whatever it takes. If that means you get a lymphatic drainage massage, which I'm going to start doing every week, I'm going to do it. If that makes me feel important, that I set time for myself to feel important, to feel validated, to feel loved, whatever it is that I need to feel, then I take the time to do that. Okay? Take the time to empower yourself. If your husband's going to, be like, then you have to, unfortunately, say, okay, it's not the Torah, it's just my husband who's psychotic, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves me. And you try to train them in a way where you say, listen, it's really important for me that you recognize me. Again, communicate. That's a whole other topic of Shalom Bait and communication and blah, 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 blah. But I just want you to differentiate between someone who, thank you so much, I'm so funny, and someone who, lives in a home where the Torah is not taught in the right way and it's not transmitted in the right way, and what the Torah actually expresses about the Jewish woman. Okay, so those are the distinctions. Okay, now everybody can beat me up. Anybody have questions?
I feel bad for the single women here, like, not tempting them.